It's time now to revisit the Greek participle. So far we have learnt the masculine participle forms. We've not yet looked at the feminine and neuter participle forms. Now participles are unusual because they're verbal forms, but they have properties just like nouns, so that they have the three genders of masculine, feminine, neuter. They also have case and they also have number. But being verbal, they have tense form and voice. So for right now, we're going to focus on these missing two grammatical genders, the feminine and the neuter, to complement the masculine participle that we've already looked at. Now, first we should ask, why are different genders used in the participle? And the answer to that is that participles will agree in gender with whatever noun they are modifying or relating to. That's especially obvious with adjectival participles, that is, participles that are functioning like adjectives to modify or further describe or qualify some noun in the sentence. In that situation, the participle will adopt the same number and gender as the noun that they are modifying. With adverbial participles, it's a little more complicated because the participle actually modifies a verb which has no gender or case. But usually that will be determined by the subject of the verb, the one performing the action. So if the subject of the verb is nominative and masculine and singular, so the participle that modifies the verb will be nominative, masculine, and singular. So that's the main reason why we need to look at the other two genders for the participle. Let's have a look at the table here. We're looking at the present active participle, feminine and neuter genders. First, the feminine. The nominative singular, feminine, present active participle is luusa or liusa. The genitive singular is luuses or liusis. The dative is luuse or liusi. The accusative is luusan or liusan. The nominative plural is luusai or liuse. The genitive plural, luuson or liuson. The dative plural, luuses or liuses. The accusative plural, luusas or liusas. Now you can see the stem, the lu stem, running through these forms. And another thing that these forms have in common is this u sound, the omicron upsilon. Then we also have a sigma, but this should not be mistaken as indicating an aorist participle. So this sigma is distinct for the feminine active participle in the present tense form. Then we have an alpha ending in the nominative singular, then an eta or ita ending for the genitive and dative, and then an alpha ending for the accusative. And then these forms are predictable for feminine nouns. So these are the feminine present active participle forms and need to be learnt. Next we come to the neuter forms. Again, you'll see the common lu stem, and then these participle forms look very similar to the masculine present active participle forms, but with differences that are in keeping with them being neuter. Let's go through them. Luon or leon, luontos or leontos, luonti or leonti, luon or leon, luonta or leonta, luonton or leonton, luusin or liusin, luonta or leonta. So these are the neuter forms for the present active participle. Again, the significance of these forms are that participles will agree in gender and case and number with any noun that they modify, or when they're modifying a verb, with any noun that functions as the subject of that verb. Now, while we're continuing with participles, it's appropriate to look at the participle forms for a me. We're getting used to the fact that eimi, the verb to be, which is an extremely important verb in the Greek New Testament, has its own set of forms going on in various instances. We saw that with the future form. It's quite distinct. Now we see this with the participle. The participles of eimi are quite common in the New Testament, and these forms need to be learnt. But there's good news. These forms can be derived simply by studying the normal participle for the active present participle, the masculine, feminine, and neuter. If we take the masculine, feminine, and neuter present participles of luo and detach the endings from those, that is, remove the lu stem, you will immediately generate this table. The present active participle of luo is luon, luontos, luonti, luonta, luontes, and in the feminine, luusa, luuses, luuse, etc. So without the actual verb stem, lu, we just have the endings. And these endings form the participle table for a me. On, ontos, onti, onta, ontes, onton, usin, ontas are the masculine forms. Usa, uses or usis, user or usi, usan, usai or use, uson, usais or uses, usas are the feminine forms. On, ontos, onti, on, onta, onton, usin, onta are the neuter forms. So while there are a number of forms here to be learned, they're easily derived if you already know the participle table for luo. So the participle of eimi, because it means to be, we will translate the participle as being simply. And this will be the case regardless of gender or case or number, at least for the time being. Now, before we round out this section on participles, there's another function of the participle that you need to be aware of. It's the function where the participle acts like a noun. It's not modifying another noun. It's actually standing in place of a noun. It becomes a substantive, that's what we call it. And this will occur when the participle appears with the article and with no noun to modify it. So you might have, for example, the running being the participle. In Greek, that will imply the running man or the running person, the one who is running, something like that. And so we would need to translate that as the one running or the running man or something like that. But this is an important and common function for the participle where it stands in place of a noun, but it must have the article to perform this function.